Hey everyone, welcome to episode 1 of the Quacking Pancakes Podcast, filmed here in Cornwall Studios in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Kory Hoang.
And I'm Evan Mullvain. We're so glad that you could join us here and take the time to watch our first ever podcast where we kind of talk about life and hobbies and kind of other current events. From time to time, we may bring on a few guests, but otherwise, it's just going to be the two of us.
So Quacking Pancakes is a little bit of the collaborative brainchild that Evan and I came up when we were in 7th grade. Back then, it was a little more into those parent-level Facebook memes and writing our own comic strips during class, but now our mission is to have a media platform that's devoted to storytelling and casual gaming, sketches, and a whole lot more.
So without further ado, let's get into it.
So for this first episode of the Quacking Pancakes podcast, we thought we'd get things started by talking about a road trip we took this past summer, as well as just a little bit more about us. But first, to kick things off with some news that's gone on this week. And I think the first thing that's on everyone's mind as a resident of Atlanta is that the Braves are in the World Series right now.
Yeah, this is pretty huge, especially for people our age. I know the Braves were like really good in the 90s. They made the playoffs consistently, like every year in the 90s. They were just always in there. And then like when we were growing up watching baseball, they just didn't have it. And then this is the first year that we get to see a World Series Braves team.
Right. And, I have a lot of faith in the Braves. A lot of the memes on the internet is that Atlanta can't win a championship in any sport. But I'm really proud of the way that our team came in an underdog, honestly. What is it that they weren't even having a winning record going into August?
August, yeah. August is when they finally got it. And it's kind of crazy because they lost one of their best pitchers and they lost Acuna, and all of a sudden they started to turn it around. Right.
So that's going to be exciting, and hopefully when they're playing in Atlanta tomorrow, things will be pretty well. So a question we're hoping to ask on a weekly basis on the event that it hopefully does change. Evan, how's the traffic doing this week?
Bad.
Thank you, Evan. We'll leave it at that. All right, for our Quacking Pancakes question of the week, I believe the question as shown on the board behind Evan is sock, shoe, or sock, shoe. Evan, you care to explain?
So, I would think that there's only one correct answer, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a sock, shoe guy. Same here. Sock, shoe. I can't imagine someone having a shoe on but a bare foot on the other side. I would not trust a sock, shoe person at all.
Right.
Now, to go a step deeper, do you put on your left sock first or your right sock?
I think I put on my right sock.
Really?
First.
I think I put on my left sock. That's interesting.
Well, you're left-handed, aren't you?
For certain things, yes. I write with my left hand, but I brush my teeth with my right hand.
What hand do you throw football with?
My right. Everything else is right except for writing.
Just
yeah.
writing?
Yeah. I write with left. Yeah, and then I left with my right.
Oh, you left with your right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so just to introduce a little more about ourselves to anybody who's not completely familiar with either of us, I'm Kory Hoang. I graduated from Georgia Tech this past summer, and this whole idea has been a dream of mine for a while, and finally we just sat down and decided to do it. So in addition to this, you might see me play music in my free time, or graphic design, or photography, or things like that. But overall, I'm just real happy to be here.
And I'm Evan Mullvain. I would consider myself a free spirit. I just kind of go with the flow here. I graduated from Georgia Southern, and again, from time to time, might see some video games on here, some reviews of stuff, and we might have some features of sketches and whatnot. But we're really glad that we could actually find the time to get this going, because it is like we said, Quacking Pancakes was something that we created a long time ago, just as a creative outlet, and now we finally get to like see some like real production here.
Right. You might even just a little throwback, you might see us draw a comic strip here or there.
Oh yeah, we got Fighting Frenzy, which was mine, and then yours was
None Better.
None Better, yep.
None Better.
Those are old comic strips.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, Evan's been doing this for a while, but we might bring it back. So
that'd be pretty fun, yeah.
So this past summer, in case many people may not know this, we took a huge cross-country road trip to California, and it was something that we kind of have talked about for a very, very long time, but it was more of like, when are we going to find the time to do this? Like how is this going to work? Like, where are we going to get the money to do this? Like, what if we get jobs or anything. But luckily, this was about a year and a few months after, COVID first started happening. And I think that gave us a lot of time to just sit at home and focus a little bit and save some money. And then finally, when we were both graduated and we didn't have full-time employment at the time, I think it was a great opportunity for us to just finally say, hey, let's just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah, it was just like the nice honeymoon period where, neither of us was doing anything at the time. So we're like, this is going to be the last time we have, what did we spend, like 2 weeks, a week and a half?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
We just full open schedules. We just did it, and we just went for it. We just drove across country. It was pretty fun. So
the first place that we wanted to stop was Memphis, Tennessee, because I have some family there. But we, in a way, like, this wasn't the real intention of it, but I think there was kind of an underlying theme of this was going to be kind of a food road trip, right? We wanted to compare all these different places, especially if we're going to go to Memphis and then eventually drive through Texas on the way to California. And we're from Georgia, which is big in Southern culture. We're going to want to compare barbecue and various things like that.
Yeah, thinking about it at first, I was just like, oh, hey, I've never been to California before. I've never been like west of Colorado before. And I was like, okay, this is just an excuse for me to go to California. And it wasn't until afterwards I was like, that was pretty much just a food trip. Like we went for all of the food because, there was probably a restaurant in every state that we went to that we had never gone to, or at least that I had never gone to, but just that you can't find in Atlanta or Georgia. So a little backstory. I think Evan and I can pretty much say that we're from Georgia. We're spent a large portion of our childhood and adolescenthood growing up here. But I know that neither of us were born here, I don't think. I was born in North Carolina, and my dad was in the Army, and then eventually he got relocated to Georgia when I was around 2 or 3 years old, and Evan's from the Midwest. Yep, Minnesota and Wisconsin. I used to tell everybody, like, oh, yeah, I'm from Minnesota, I'm from Wisconsin, even though a majority of my life now has been lived in Georgia. I think I've spent 3-4 years at the most in the Midwest. Right. But he still has the accent, I think. Or he says, don't you say pop or something like that? Occasionally, yeah. It's there are definitely some words. He just said occasionally. Yeah. So you guys. It took me a really long time to say y'all. I was just you guys for the longest time. Would you usually say something like professional or professional? Professional. I don't know. Just don't ask me to say bagel, or you say, like, you don't say grandpa, you say grandpa. Yeah, grandpa. So Evan's a Midwestern boy. I've kind of been in Georgia for nearly 20 years now, but I'm still very much a Southern boy. But North Carolina is a little bit different. I always tell people that the trees there are, like, so beautiful, and people are like crazy. They're like, or they think I'm crazy. They're like, trees? What are you talking about, the trees? I'm like, no, dude, like, the scenery, it's amazing. But I hear a lot of good stuff about it. Yeah, and I've never been in the Midwest, actually, but I tell Evan all the time that I would associate the people who are, like, super gung-ho about fishing and everything. Like, it kind of looks like if anybody's played Donkey Kong Country 3, like, that's kind of how I imagine, like, the map of the state looks. I've never played it, but he's shown me the picture of what it looks like, and I can confirm that is pretty much exactly what it looks like. Right. So now that you know a little more about us, the first place that we wanted to start was Memphis, Tennessee. Like I said before, I have family who lives there, and we were visiting, and they were kind enough to let us stay with them for a little bit. There's a restaurant there that me and Evan are very fond of from the first time we had it, and it's called Charlie Vergos Rendezvous. Basically, it's a barbecue restaurant, but to get a little bit into Southern cuisine, Georgia has a little bit of that tomato-based barbecue sauce. It's kind of like ketchup, but there's a little, more kick to it. I think the Carolinas have a vinegar-based sauce, and then Texas is also a wet sauce, I believe. But the thing about Memphis, Tennessee is that their barbecue is like a dry rub. It's so amazing. Like, so they'll cover it in dry rub, they'll smoke it, and then, of course, there will be more dry rub on the side along with a sauce. But my favorite dish, and I think Evan can agree, that we had at Rendezvous was it's like a charcuterie plate. It's like sausage and cheese, but they put their dry rub on it. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they just have, like, it's like cheddar string cheese. I don't think it's like salami. It's like maybe there's like sliced.
It's like summer sausage or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like someone just made a charcuterie. I'm not even gonna try. They made one of those board things, and then they just like take their dry rub and just go whoof, and then it just covers it all in.
But it's not over seasoned.
No. Like,
yeah.
If you look at it, you're like, that's gonna be salty and not. But
right. The thing about barbecue is that it doesn't matter where you go. Good barbecue is going to be expensive because the time it takes to make it. But like, this was like the most expensive thing you could get on the menu. It's like $15.
That first time we went, we basically got like one of everything on the menu. We
right. And so I know that I'm a huge fan of coleslaw, and this is like a vinegar-based slaw, but I don't think Evan likes coleslaw.
I'm a beans guy. What can I say?
Yeah, I don't like beans. So like every time we would go there, we'd swap, or like I don't think like
I ended up with like 4 cups of beans. He ended up with like 4 cups of coleslaw. It was good. It was all good.
It's amazing. Ribs too. Everything there is great, but the most unfortunate part is that we started on a Monday. We woke up really early and drove all the way to Memphis that morning. And we were hoping to have Rendezvous later that night, but because it's a Monday, most barbecue restaurants are not open on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, because that's generally when they'll do their smoking process. So, we completely forgot to check with our schedule, or there was really no way around it. This had to be our first day on the drive. This had to be our first destination, but that was really unfortunate for us.
We could not get Rendezvous on this trip. I don't know about you. I've been 2 times now, and that would have been the 3rd time. And I've
only never been as much as you have.
I was very upset because we were driving to it, weren't we? Or did we look beforehand if it was even open?
No, we didn't even know. We were like waiting, and then I think someone told us that it was.
It's like, hey,
Monday.
check the menu or check the hours. And we're
yeah.
Like, why? And we're like,
it's not even open.
No, it's not open. For
lunch that day, not that there's anything wrong with this. It's a very, very nice luxury chain. We settled on Hattie B's. And I hate to use that word settled, but like we have one here,
Hattie B's for me is probably my favorite fast food chicken sandwich. No matter what you say Popeyes, I think Burger King now people are claiming is the best. I don't really know. But Hattie B's they're known for their chicken sandwiches. It's just good. It's good, but like, when you're kind of expecting Rendezvous, you're kind of like not disappointed by Hattie B's, but it's like, okay, Hattie B's is fine.
Right. So I mean, yeah, that's why we say settled, but Hattie B's is by far
it's good.
It's a solid choice. If you haven't had it, definitely try it, and I'm sure there are many more other Nashville hot restaurants that you could try, but Hattie B's is definitely very solid. Would definitely recommend to go. So Memphis, we've been a couple times now, a handful of times before the pandemic hit, but this was now just during the summer. We haven't ever been there during the summertime, so it was a little more festival season, a little more going on with, especially they have a minor league baseball team. I think the Grizzlies were that was a big deal.
In they were in the playoffs, I think, when we were up there. So we were kind of the atmosphere like on
it was packed on the street
on Beale Street. Yeah, It's real nice.
Right. So that being said, a lot of the restaurants were kind of booked, and we didn't really know where we were going to eat. We ended up settling on this hot dog restaurant.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was. It was like outside of Memphis a little bit, kind of in it's like a suburban kind of ish neighborhood.
Right.
Not too busy, kind of nice and quiet. I don't know. What'd you think of those hot dogs?
I'll be honest. I'm not a huge hot dog person. Like, I'm not someone who usually goes out of my way to get a hot dog, but I was hoping the goal of this trip was we didn't want to eat anything that we can get.
No McDonald's, no Wendy's, none of that. No.
Which I think we ended up breaking that rule, unfortunately. But it was just something worth trying. It had decent reviews on Google and Yelp and everything, and we tried it and it was fine. Like, it was kind of like it had a menu. Like, it wasn't just hot dogs with a toppings bar. Like, they made the toppings for you. It was
reasonably priced too. Like, not like a hot dog for this amount. No, it's good.
Right. So after we left Memphis, we decided to go towards Dallas, Texas. I think was the first place we wanted to stop in Texas.
That was our initial destination, yeah.
Right. So along the way, I knew that if this was going to be a foodie experience, which it was, and we're talking about Texas, just not talking about barbecue, we have to talk about Whataburger. and I had it once on a different road trip I had in 2017, and I was telling Evan, like, I'm honestly not a huge fan. Like,
it's not that I didn't want to believe you. I know you're not like the biggest fan of mustard, and you said that's kind of like what they do is they put mustard on their burgers.
I cannot do mustard, right?
I was using that information from you to kind of base my perception of how I'd like it, and I was like, okay, well, Kory doesn't like mustard, but I don't care. Like I'll eat it. So I was still looking forward to it. And we got to, was it Texarkana that we stopped?
Texarkana. I've never heard of Texarkana before, but Evan was always telling me, be careful when you're there.
Apparently, you'd never know it. It's on the border of Texas and Arkansas.
Oh.
Wouldn't you believe?
Oh, but I think that was the closest Whataburger that we had to us, and I wanted to retry it on the off chance it was a fluke, but
I think it was like the closest one with like above a 2-star rating or something.
Right.
Something like that.
Right. My understanding is that Whataburger is essentially the McDonald's of Texas. The same way that Culver's is the McDonald's of Wisconsin, the way that Evan always tells me. But so I'm sure there's a lot of ones that like you might get a good one or you might just get a bad one, but I'm convinced that it's just not it. Like I'm not.
Yeah, we went there, and I mean, it wasn't that the burger was bad. Like, they made the burger fine. It wasn't like it looked bad. It looked fine. It looked like a decent burger, but the
place was clean too.
Yeah, it was a fine restaurant. But to me, and I guess to you too, for the second time, there wasn't much to it. I guess
I'm a big fan of simplicity and minimalism, but like it's just not executed right to me. It's just not. And this is such a trivial thing, but the thing about the whole like cubed, like diced lettuce, like I'm not big on that.
Well, it was like they put a salad, like a iceberg lettuce on.
But to be fair, I'm not a big fan of like the lettuce leaves either. Like it's got to be shredded for me. I think that's the best kind of lettuce.
Right. So spoiler alert: we went twice on this trip. And both times it was not very good.
Both times it wasn't very good. But
I still think it could be good. I think the third time, if we ever go a third time, I still think that it could be good.
That's the definition of, I guess, people say insanity. But one thing about Whataburger that I know like blew our minds is that Dr. Pepper shake.
That Dr. Pepper shake was so good.
It's so next level. Like it's unlike anything I've ever tried before. And like it's not like a Dr. Pepper float or anything like that. Like it has like those nodes of Dr. Pepper, but it tastes so unique. Like there's so many different flavors going on there.
Yeah, if nobody told you, if you did like a blind taste test, you'd be like, oh, this is like a cherry flavored ice cream float. Right. It's kind of, I don't know how you describe it.
Do you consider Dr. Pepper cherry soda?
Well, here's the thing. I would. Well, not necessarily. Like if you told me it's a cherry soda, I'd be like, yeah, you're right, but there's cherry Dr. Pepper. So it's like cherry soda.
Cherry soda.
Cherry to the max.
There's 24 flavors in cherry Dr. Pepper, and 2 of them are cherry.
Yeah, 2 of them are cherry if you're talking about cherry Dr. Pepper.
Right, but no, this, like, yeah, it has those hints and notes of, like, being a Dr. Pepper shake, but there's so much complexity there. Like
I would definitely drive back to Texarkana for a Dr. Pepper float.
Well, sure. I know we're getting a Whataburger in Kennesaw, I think, but that's
somewhere north.
That's still a pretty far drive from us, but I know that whenever the hype calms down there, we're definitely gonna have to go for the shakes, for the shakes. No,
maybe the burger.
He can try the burger all he wants. We can re-record it, and he could do the review of it. But I am going for that shake. That shake is next level.
Shake's pretty good, yeah.
Right. So we went and eventually got to Dallas, right? And the thing about growing up in Atlanta is that it's kind of, it's a very communal, welcoming type city. I think, it only spans so many exits, and you can start in one place and end up in another very easily. There's huge landmarks that are very notable to just go visit, but I think we were kind of misled on how we wanted to explore Dallas in the same way.
Yeah, to kind of loop back to your Atlanta statement, it's a lot smaller than I think I realized. Like, if you look up the population of Atlanta, it's I'm not even going to guess, but it's less than 1 million, which maybe that's super far off and off base, but I was surprised at how small the population was.
Right.
But everything, and we'll get to this in a second, everything in Atlanta, like downtown wise, is pretty like, welcoming. There's Centennial Park,
Right.
There's the aquarium, the World of Coke.
World of Coke. And if you haven't been to the World of Coke, by the way, definitely go. It might be one of those one-time experiences, but I think it's definitely a worthwhile
You have to try Beverly. Have to try Beverly.
The Beverly is the best drink.
You'll
there
love
is.
it. I promise you'll love it.
But, for us growing up in Georgia, the World of Coke is just kind of the World of Coke.
Yeah, it's like you go once and it's like, yeah, it's there.
That being said, I know that we'll probably only drink Coke. We're not Pepsi people down here. So don't expect if you ever visit Georgia for there to be Pepsi.
Yeah, no, it's like...
It's very rare that it'll be in a restaurant.
For sure. But Dallas, that was, you could say Memphis is our first big city, but when we got to Dallas, that was the biggest one that we had been to. Up to that point. And it's a little bit different in that it's not, okay, you go downtown and there you go, all your attractions are there, which we only spent, a couple hours there?
Probably, not less than 3 or 4, 5 hours, maybe something like that.
And what we did was we kind of planned our trip ahead of time before we got to all of our places. And I'll take the blame for this one. I kind of messed up. I was like, okay, we'll go to Dallas and we'll just figure out what to do.
You wanted to wing it.
We'll just figure out what to do in downtown Dallas. Which, if you're from Dallas, you're probably like...
There's plenty to do in downtown
Dallas. There's a lot to do.
But for people who aren't from Dallas, we were like, oh, we'll just show up and, we'll find everything. I don't know where we parked, but we could not find anything to do. It was all just like a bunch of corporate headquarters or, people looking at where President Kennedy was assassinated. But I don't think we hit the right part, the right... area for our kind of demographic of just being young millennials looking for a place to chill on vacation.
Yeah, and I've heard Dallas is really nice from friends and whatnot. So I even texted some family. I was like, hey, you said Dallas was nice. I guess you don't mean downtown Dallas, and they're just like, no, we're not talking about that. So they texted me a couple places. They're like, go here, and you'll have a much better time.
Right, and the unfortunate part is that we were trying to follow a schedule. We had to, we didn't want to be limited by time, but in order to make sure that we can be back in 2 weeks, because I had some obligations, and then we had to kind of section things off to make sure that we can do what we wanted and then get to the next place on time. So unfortunately, we only had 1 hour left when he finally had this realization of, hey, let's go check out this nice little neighborhood next to the city, right?
And it was very nice.
Lots of young kids hanging out, lots of, really nice, up-and-coming type restaurants. We had a barbecue place there because I had never had Texas barbecue before, and I know Evan hasn't either, but... I had a lot of expectations for this, and I think it's just because Rendezvous set the bar so high. I was not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I think Texas is more of a brisket type state.
Right, and I'm a pork person.
I tend to lean towards brisket, so I enjoyed it.
Right. And he was telling me how good it was, and I just think maybe I got the wrong thing. Something about this restaurant, though, is that they also had their own kind of organic local brewed soda or some kind.
Some restaurants do that. We have a couple local restaurants here that do that.
Right.
And I don't know. It's
going back to the thing about we only drink Coca-Cola here. I think, when you're trying to get a generic brand of cola like Tab or RC Cola that you've never heard of before, and it's not Pepsi either, you're like, well, maybe hopefully this will taste like Coke, and they just never taste like Coke.
Yeah, and it's not to say that I was against it. I was like, oh, cool, I think this is sustainable, made with cane sugar or something like that. But
some organic cane sugar.
They got some work to do on that side, but
right. So after Dallas, we had to kind of take a step back and reevaluate how we wanted to do this trip, because at this point we only had the locations we wanted to go to, but we didn't really break it into here's the landmarks we need to check out. And especially if we're trying to go to Los Angeles, we need to figure out where exactly we're going to go, because Los Angeles is a million times bigger than Atlanta. So for the rest of the trip, we pretty much planned everything breaking down by the minute sometimes.
I know not everybody is like this or can do this, not saying that they can't, but they just it's not what they like to do. we made a Google Doc and we pretty much said, okay, today, this time, we should be here. We should leave here by this time. I even booked the hotels. Like, I booked the hotels out, like 3 hotels there in advance, and then booked the other 4. Like when we were in California, I booked those there. And it's so easy. Like you just get there and you check in and you don't have to worry about all the hassle.
Exactly. So, the next day was not going to be wasted by us. We decided we'd go to Albuquerque, and we had a few different places in mind. But on the way there, we definitely stopped in Amarillo, and we had to see the Cadillac Ranch because that's a pretty famous kind of landmark, if you will.
Very cool spot, yeah.
One thing I will say, though, for anybody going there, definitely don't wear white shoes.
Not speaking from experience or anything.
This man had, like, a brand new or relatively new pair of Allbirds, like, all white, and, like, he wore those over, like, his pair of Crocs in the car.
I had Allbirds, completely white Allbirds, and a pair of Crocs. And I was like, okay, we're just going to be going back. I didn't realize how muddy it was going to be. Like, it wasn't even that it had rained very much. Like,
no, it's just naturally very muddy.
It was just really muddy out there, yeah.
Yeah, but people there were in their flip-flops getting muddy. They were having a great time. They had spray cans.
Yeah, really cool place. One guy even came up to us and was like, hey, you guys want a spray can? And we're like, thank you, but...
It's all right. But, that was a little neat place. Definitely recommend going. The highlight of this day was definitely Albuquerque, though. And Albuquerque is a little bit more kind of like Memphis, less suburban, I guess, depending where you're, or less urban, depending on where you're going. But, a little more hometown like. Something that I had been hyping up to Evan for like the past 3 or 4 years now was a brunch place. They're only open from like 11 to 4 or something. They don't serve like breakfast or dinner really. Is Mary and Tito's. And the thing about New Mexican cuisine is how like unique it is. It's not really Mexican food, but there's definitely some influences there, but it also takes a lot of influence from all of the Native American cultures around it. And the biggest thing there was the sopapillas. I had never had a sopapilla before my first road trip a few years ago, but the minute I had it, I told Evan, like, I'm pretty sure I texted him immediately, like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my whole life. And I was just hyping it to him the whole trip.
It was one of those things where it was like you said you wanted to go there before we even left for the trip.
Right.
And I saw it on our little Google Doc that we had, and I just kind of thought to myself, okay, it's just like a mom and pop restaurant, which it is. It's just a mom and pop restaurant, but it's like... I didn't really have any expectations for it. I just thought, okay, Kory went there once, and it's just someplace that he liked to go. That was not the case. Well, it was the case, but in terms of how much I enjoyed it, my expectations were through the roof.
Right. It's just so unique. I remember, like, I was doing a job interview this past summer, and they're like, "What's the best thing you've ever eaten?" And I was just telling them that it was that, like. The only way I could really describe this is that it's kind of like a calzone, but like with New Mexican meat in it. So basically they'll have like this dough rolled out. They'll put all these like marinated meats that they have like marinating for like hours. I think there was cheese in there, maybe a couple other veggies.
I didn't even know what the word sopapilla meant for this trip.
Right. And then they'll just like, I'm pretty sure it's deep fried. It has to be. But that's not it. They'll cover the thing in what they call like the equivalent of like salsa. It's just chilies, but like depending which chilies you get, they're hatch chilies, which I like haven't even heard of before we finally decided to look into it.
Another thing that was kind of like something in the back of my head, like you hear like, oh, they put chilies on stuff. Hatch chilies are amazing,
right? And I don't think you could just get them locally here. I don't think, right?
If sometimes they do, I've seen them in grocery stores, but it's like they have to be in season,
right?
So you can get them like 1 week, and that's it.
Okay.
Like in August, they have them for 1 week, and then they're gone for the rest of the year.
Right. So I mean, that was amazing. That's still probably the best food I've ever had. But Albuquerque. Besides that, we decided, as most people will. With a very popular show. Breaking Bad took place there pretty much the whole time. And Evan, up to this point, I was not really sold on the hype. Like, I had only finished the first season 3 times, and I've never been able to get past it. But he just kept hyping up that we got to go see Walter White's house.
Yeah, it was kind of like okay, yeah, we got to see Walter White's house, but at the same time, it was also like, I kind of want to see the lady. Like, everybody always talks about the lady.
Right. So basically, Breaking Bad, for the main character, Walter White, it's filmed in Albuquerque, but I don't think that the directors or anybody who was involved in the process really knew how huge the show would be. So whoever owns the house was like, yeah, sure, you could film it here. Why not? And it just ended up blowing up. It's considered like the greatest show ever made now. And I'm sure the woman who lives there wasn't aware of that. And so now she gets tons of like tourists coming to see her house.
I think now it has, well, it does because we went there. But before it didn't have a fence up. Now it has like this big metal fence around the yard. And there's a sign that says you could take pictures, but do it respectfully and from across the street.
Across the street, right. And it's funny because as we were pulling up to get the right angle to take a picture of the house, there were other cars like pulled up behind us ready to get their turn.
It was a spectacle for sure. Part of me thinks that the lady enjoys the attention.
Really?
Like
so?
She's every time, if you've seen like videos online, she's always yelling at people. But I feel like if she really didn't want to, she wouldn't come outside at all, right? So I feel like the fact is she's always outside. Get out of here. I think she kind of likes doing that. That's just me. That's just my conspiracy.
I don't know, man. I think I get it. I would hate to yell
I think she wants pizzas thrown on her roof. I don't know about you.
Pizzas thrown on her. Huge spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah,
sorry. But, we had breakfast or brunch, whatever you want to call it. We had our little visit to where the majority of Breaking Bad was filmed. But, like I was saying earlier, is that Albuquerque is a little more down to earth. It's not very urban, depending where you go.
It was the first kind of Western experience that I had because, I hadn't really been out west. I've been to Colorado, but that's like in the mountains kind of.
Right.
But this was like the first kind of deserty-ish Western experience I had. It was just a really cool town. If you're from like the East, you're kind of more familiar with like the woodsy, foresty kind of vibe, but this was like, it's a city, but it's in like the desert.
Right. So, we just wanted to take a look at some of the other things that they had to offer. We went to kind of like a museum. It was a Native American cultural center for a little bit. It was really cool to see, some of the artifacts or, like I think they had videos of how they would build the homes with stuccos. It was just a little cool, really cool, kind of cultural experience. But, after we decided to just go ahead and hit the road for the next state, we were driving through a small town and going back to that rule we said earlier, we did not want to eat at a like Subway or McDonald's.
This is one of my favorite parts of the whole trip right here.
So basically we were driving, we were like, oh, what are we going to eat? Are we just going to settle on so-and-so or this or that? But, there was this restaurant we only saw in Albuquerque, and that's because we found out afterwards they only have it in New Mexico, called Blake's Lottaburger. And, this particular one looked very, very scary to go into. It looks like, yeah.
You've seen bad McDonald's before. This was worse than a bad McDonald's.
Really worse.
Just looks. Just
how it looks from the outside. When we finally got inside, it was very clean. Everyone was very
employees were
nice.
Super nice.
Yeah. We decided to just give it a chance because we found out it was kind of like a local chain, and it did not disappoint. It's everyone knows I'm a huge burger guy, and this was easily top 15, top 10 burgers that I've ever had, and it's so weird that like it was so obscure to me this whole time. Right?
The chilies, the hatch chilies, like it was one of those things where I saw it. We had it at Mary and Tito's, and it ingrained in my brain like, green chilies, you like that. And so when I saw it on the menu at Blake's, I was like, chilies, I like that. And I got it on the burger. And
right.
Because what would you say? You'd probably say it's not as hot as jalapenos?
No, it's like there's a little bit of a kick to it, definitely. It's a little bit sweet too, but it's very flavorful. Like I don't know. Once when you're a little kid, you don't want to eat vegetables, but once you're an adult, like you realize that all peppers like taste different in their own way, but they're still kind of peppers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was great, and I think we only had it one time.
Yeah, I regret it now, but going back to it as it's something good to have.
Right. Where's it rank among the burgers you've had?
Oh, this could be a podcast all on its own here. I would probably put it up in the top 5 for sure,
Okay.
maybe top 3, but we haven't talked about In-N-Out yet.
Oh, right, and we'll definitely get
get
there.
there.
But yeah, definitely recommend Blake's Lottaburger if you go visit Albuquerque. So after Albuquerque, I think we were just passing through Arizona.
For the most part, I think the Grand Canyon was our next
Right,
big
right.
trip.
And we went to the South Rim?
Yeah, South Rim, which it's kind of, it has to be like this because it's a big landmark and you don't really want a bunch of traffic driving through it. But you pretty much get off the interstate that you're driving on, go straight north for, what was it, like hour, 2 hours?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it definitely wasn't on the interstate. I remember that. Now it just all came back to me. Yeah, like an hour and a half out of the way just to go. But no, definitely worth it. The thing about Arizona, just as we were driving through and stocking up on like camping supplies, because we knew that once we hit the Grand Canyon, we're going to go straight to Joshua Tree. I did not know that in Arizona, and probably in other states too, that they just straight up sell liquor at Walmart.
Yeah, for someone who, well, for both of us, growing up in Georgia, which is a Bible Belt state,
Right.
they tend to have stricter liquor laws and
Right.
whatnot. it was kind of a...
Yeah, so they have liquor stores here. That's what they're called, or ABC stores. I think they're called
Yeah,
ABC
whatever.
stores. But yeah, just going to an Arizona Walmart and seeing people walk out with like Jack Daniels, like it's not even a big deal on like a weekday. This is pretty much still on a weekday.
It's
I'm
kind
pretty
of
sure.
funny, yeah.
that was pretty interesting. But
I see where your priorities are.
we went to the Grand Canyon, and I had been before, but it wasn't really like from one of these national park experiences. I vaguely remember going to some like touristy center where it's like, hey, here's a skywalk out of like this little platform we made out of glass, and you can walk on it, but you can't wear shoes. You have to wear like potato sacks on your feet. So this is actually us getting to go through the national park and seeing everyone else like just hanging off the side of the cliff for the most part.
Yeah, they have a barrier there, but it's really just like a metal kind of...
It's a suggestion.
Yeah, for the most part. And this, to me, was so cool. It looks fake in person once you get up there and stand up there. If you've ever seen the Simpsons movie, and I think they take a trip up to Alaska because they get like kicked out of town, and Homer, he puts a brochure up in the windshield, and he's like, "This is Alaska," whatever he says, and then they like fall off a cliff, and then he thinks that the brochure is still up there, and he tries to grab it, and it's like not really, there. It's actually like Alaska. That's what the Grand Canyon experience felt like to me. It looked fake. Like I was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, and I'm sure some like some kind of geology or astronomy expert could tell us why, but it really does look fake. It looks like
it was surreal.
A blue screen, and then like a projector was just aimed on top of it.
For sure, yeah.
So that was a really cool experience, and people were hanging off, like I said, off the side of the cliff pretty much, and taking their like cliffhanger pictures, and we were just barely doing that like off the edge, but there was still like something to catch our fall at the bottom, but people were still looking at us like we were crazy.
we were kind of like taking a picture close to the edge. There's a fan like, did you want us to take your picture for you?
Yeah, we don't want you to try to reach and then fall off the edge.
Were we really that close to falling off?
But yeah, so we spent about an hour or two there just taking pictures, taking in the sights, just watching this beautiful landmark. And then we knew that we had a drive ahead of us to finally get to California, because as I said before, I'm a huge burger guy. I was telling Evan, like, In-N-Out is the king of all burgers. Like, there's nothing even remotely close. Like, trust me, I have a spreadsheet with like 50 different burger places I've eaten at, and this is number one for a reason. And I think, like, again, you were a little skeptical just trusting my word about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of, you know your burgers, and I was like, okay, Kory likes this, I will probably like it. Like, I wasn't like, I'm going to like this burger no matter what. I was just like, Kory likes it, I'll probably like it. For the longest time, I kind of thought that In-N-Out was the same thing as, what's that one show with, is it Kenan Thompson? Good Burger.
Good Burger.
I thought those were the same thing for the longest time. Like, I thought In-N-Out was based on Good Burger, but I know that is now not the case.
Right, but first thing we had to do is, before we got to SoCal, where it's right next up against the coast for the most part, we had to do our camping trip in Joshua Tree. And to get to Joshua Tree, you're driving through the desert with like no cell service. like nothing in sight, like no, like gas stations come like every 60 miles and it's like $7 a gallon. But, Joshua Tree was pretty interesting. It's not necessarily like, obviously a lot of people have these notions about national parks. It's not very like woodsy, I guess you could say.
It was a desert,
right,
pretty much.
Right.
And it was kind of like a reset for us because we had just gone a couple of days, eating a bunch of fast food. So it's like, okay, we're going to spend another week and a half eating junk food.
Right.
So this was kind of like, okay, we're just going to bring like, I think we got like cheese and crackers.
We didn't even eat like anything like restaurant wise. We just snacked for the whole day. And I think that was fine because we did a lot of hiking there and it was really beautiful and we saw tons of different sites, but had a great time there. It was really nice just watching the stars come out and just chilling and, hanging out by the campfire and everything. But yeah, really, really cool. I remember I woke him up because of the time difference. We were like able to see the sunrise come up.
Yeah, it was, I think I like woke up to you and you're like on the top of a rock or something. I was like, what are you doing up there?
I was like, and we both just climbed up there, watched the sunset come up. And then, once it finally, the beauty of it just kind of wore off, for lack of a better term. Like we were like, okay, it's time for us to pack and finally go hit the road. And it was time for us to go to Orange County, where my dad's family is from. And so, that was a little bit of a drive, but like, it's so funny that as we were leaving the park and, just driving for a little bit, we were easily transitioning into what I'm sure Evan, his only experience is like Grand Theft Auto 5 of what it
pretty
looks
much.
like.
And our first experience, or my first experience of California, was not being able to pump gas.
Right.
I think you were driving, you got out of the car, we're pumping gas. You said, Evan, come here and try pumping this gas.
It was something weird, but then like I had to call my dad because he grew up there, and he was like, "Oh no, you're putting it in the wrong way. If you can't figure it out, then just go get the gas station attendant." And we had to go get the man. And he was like,
I was like, wait, Kory, just wait a sec. I couldn't do it either. So
we couldn't figure it out. The gas station attendant was like, "Where are you guys from?" Oh, okay, that's why.
Something with like the fumes have to be like, you have to put the nozzle far enough in.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Right, but when we finally got to Orange County and we were staying in Irvine, I've been telling Evan that like the house that my dad, his family lives in, it's very luxurious, and he's heard about this house for a very long time.
You were hyping up this house, and I was like, okay, it's a house, and you're like, no, Evan, it's a nice California house. Yes. Like a nice Atlanta house is, it's nice, but it's Georgia's not like super, the houses are relatively priced.
Right.
But California, if you have a nice house in California,
it's got to be very, very expensive. And this is just a super duper nice house. So, I'm sure it was a little bit of a cultural shock for him to, hang out there for a couple hours while we recovered a little bit. I was like,
oh, you weren't kidding. It was
right.
Awesome.
But, after that, I wanted to take him to this place. It's kind of like the thing about California is that all the malls are like outdoors. Like there's like, at least the ones I've been to, like there's no like indoor malls in Southern California and Orange County. But like we had gone into like the Irvine Spectrum, which is a mall in Irvine. And like, I just remember Evan was talking about how like everyone, male, women, everyone seemed like they were in great shape, really beautiful, really happy.
Correct me. Well, I know it's not the case. I refuse to believe that there are any ugly people in California.
Right. Everyone does.
Just looks so good.
People work out. People are beautiful. People, they don't. The thing about shopping there is that you're not allowed to have shopping bags. They charge you free shopping bags.
Yeah, we went to Target and I was like, a shopping bag tax? What is this?
They're all environmentally conscious.
Hey, good for you. Cool. But
it was a huge wake up call. Like we were like, hey, you know what? Let's go back home where we're, respectable looking gentlemen.
I like to throw my garbage on the ground.
But, this was it. As soon as we left the mall, it was time to go to In-N-Out. And it's so funny. Like, I was like, go sit outside. I'm going in to order this by myself.
He would not let me order the sandwich. He's like, you were going to mess this up.
Yes,
I will do it for you.
So I went in, I ordered it by myself. I brought it out to him, and I was like, I was such a fangirl. I was looking at it. I'm like, oh, this is it. It's finally time. He's like, Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it.
And we do this thing. I'm sure other people do it too, where we make sure that we eat at the same.
We count down. We take the bite at the same time.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, I'm ready. Are you ready? And then we just take the bite at the same time.
He took the bite and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is it."
It was worth the 2,000 or so miles that we drove.
I'm pretty sure you told me it's like the best burger you've had, right? At least from a fast food perspective.
Easily the best fast food burger I've ever had. It definitely is in the top 3 burgers of all time.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of gourmet burgers out there that'll use, like, Wagyu or bison but just, like, plain, regular fast food style beef. Like, the only way I can really describe this is it tastes like what the Big Mac should taste like.
Yeah, and I know this kind of sounds gross. I like a wet burger. Like I like a lot of sauce and like I don't want to say the M word, moist. I like a wet sandwich. Like it's good.
I can't. I mean, yes, the patty has to be juicy, but I'm a huge fan of the toasted bun. Like I gotta have like structure there. But they, for anyone who says they don't do it right, I understand the maximalist perspective of all these different grades of beef or whatever, or all these different toppings. I'm a big fan of the black and blue cheeseburger or whatever. But for a dictionary textbook cheeseburger, you open it up, In-N-Out's exactly what it should look like. It's exactly what it should taste like. And
so what was that sauce again that they put on the
animal? See, like I can't even remember now. You got me on the spot.
Like it was like animal style.
Style.
I don't know what the sauce is or like what it is.
I don't know. Maybe they see. I'm not a real fan, but I'm telling you, it's right. It's the best burger I've ever had.
So good.
Not just the burger, but the shakes too, right?
Yeah,
the Neapolitan shake.
Neapolitan shake. Again, that was one of those things where Kory was like, I'll just get you one. And oh my God, it was so good.
It was so great.
So good.
Later that day, I think we had planned when we were in Memphis. So it's so funny because now that the Braves are in the World Series, like I've been to like a handful of Braves games. Like if you asked me like who my team up to that point was, it'd be the Braves. But my dad grew up in Orange County and he's always been a huge fan of the Dodgers and the Angels, especially the Angels because I was like right next to him. And he just kept hyping up to me. He was like, there's this guy who's like an international player who just joined the Angels a few years ago. He's really, really good. You need to buy all of his cards now while they're like $5. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. My dad has like grown up. He collected Pokemon cards, Beanie Babies, all that stuff. He was like, you need to buy this guy's card. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. But then, like, I think we're a few months into baseball season at this point in June, right? So like, that's when I started hearing about the legend of like Shohei Ohtani, and we made the decision while we were in Memphis that conveniently enough, by the time we got to California, where we needed to be, he would be pitching that night. And the thing about him is that he's a two-way player, which to my understanding, there's like not many people who can do that, right? So we went to an Angels game that same night, and it was just so nice. Like, when we had Turner Field here, like that was an experience of its own, and then we have Truist Park now, and that's an experience in the fact that it's connected to like kind of a cultural shopping center. But there's a lot of history going to Angel Stadium, and it was really cool just seeing like finally watching him play two ways, like pitching and hitting, and it was really cool. And like it's really nice to, I'm sure like there's a lot of Japanese players all the time, or like obviously there's a lot of like Latin American players too, but it was really cool for me at least, to see that people who consider this man to be like the best player in baseball, like I'm like, oh, and he's an Asian person, so that was pretty cool for me. But
yeah, really cool experience. Nice stadium, and they won, so that was cool.
Yeah, so he got that W, and I was like, are we going to eat ballpark food? And he's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I will definitely spend $16 on a beer.
Bratwurst,
yeah, beer
too,
and
right?
bratwurst. Yeah,
and it was, I'm pretty sure it was undercooked, but it's a part of the experience too, right?
Part of the experience.
I got a
Get
souvenir
a little food illness.
We went to Walmart and bought like a whole bunch of Angels merch to go in as like, fans or whatever. And it was a really cool time, but still, go Braves. Braves are doing pretty good.
Go Braves, 1-1.
Yeah. So the next day, we went to Los Angeles, the actual city of Los Angeles, which this might be pretty confusing for most people because I guess Evan probably didn't know this, and I'm sure I barely knew about this, but Orange County and Los Angeles County are like separated hugely.
I didn't even figure this out until about a week ago. I knew that there was an Orange County and an LA County, but I kind of didn't really put two and two together that they're kind of split differently.
And it's funny too because Irvine, Santa Ana, Anaheim, those are all in Orange County, but at the same time they're considered part of the Los Angeles metropolitan area. So
yeah,
it's pretty confusing.
Another weird thing about Los Angeles is going into this, I kind of thought, okay, there's the city of LA, there's the city of Irvine, there's the city of Anaheim. It's just kind of like one huge mega city almost, which like in Atlanta, it's not really like that. It's you have Atlanta, then you have like your northern, you got your Alpharettas, your and then.
But at the same time, I bet you people from like Anaheim and Irvine or whatever, they say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Los Angeles."
Yeah,
whenever they're traveling.
Like Los Angeles is so big, you could be from like San Diego and say, "Yeah, I'm from LA."
Probably
it's huge. It's so big.
Right. So we went there, and I'm pretty sure Evan's probably never seen this movie. Everyone knows I'm like the biggest Ryan Gosling fan, and La La Land was of course filmed there, and I had to go see all these cultural landmarks and other favorite movies. Like LA is the place to be. That's where so many like famous films were made. And I wanted to go to a couple places from Rush Hour or whatever.
I was just along for the ride.
Right. And, like I wanted to take responsibility for planning this part out. So we went and saw like a bunch of cultural landmarks from a couple films. Like we saw Griffith Observatory. We did a little bit of hiking in Griffith Park. We saw the Angels Flight in downtown. I think we passed by, I'm not sure the exact name, but the Disney Musical Theater. And then finally we went to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which I'm sure Evan's heard about before.
Yeah, that was like the typical, you've seen movies set in California. There's always the reference of the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sunset
stars.
Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you had to get a couple of pictures of the celebrities you care about.
Right, so we walked up and down that, and it was a pretty sizable walk. We stopped in a couple souvenir shops, and it's like the most LA experience. And everyone there, I'm pretty sure was a tourist.
Yeah, it was. If they weren't a tourist, I'll just say it was good sightseeing. If they weren't a tourist,
right. And it's funny because my family were when I told them that we were going to LA, they're like, "Okay, you have fun with that. We don't go to LA because we're from here," which I would assume most people probably just don't do for their actual state that they live in.
I mean, fair enough. Once you see it once, it's like,
right. So there were definitely a couple spots we wanted to check out after the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The first was Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, which I have never had before, which I'm guessing Evan's never had it before if he's never been to California.
Nope.
But I know that it was in Rush Hour, and there's a scene where a couple of tourists, they come up to Jackie Chan, and they're like, "Hey, where's Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles?" He's like, "I don't know. I'm just a tourist." So, unfortunately, this line was super duper long. We could not get in. I think they told us it was a 3-hour wait. So
very happening place.
We were just like, it's unfortunate we're not going to be able to try it ever at this point. So there was another place in mind. I had a few of these places from BuzzFeed's Worth It, where they try all these different items at these different price points. So one of it was called Guisados, and it's a taqueria of some kind, but it's a little more new age. Basically, it's not your classic meat dishes. I think what they typically tend to do there is that they'll marinate the meat for probably a whole day to where it just becomes kind of this slop, this stew, but it's still so good. It's they still have all your different your chicken and your pork and your mole sauce and your veggies, and it was probably the best taco I've ever had.
Yeah, For me, I'm not the biggest fan of tacos and enchiladas, and I swear I have that gene where you think that what is it, cilantro tastes like soap. I've never been tested, so I just sure I have that gene. I don't know,
right?
But I don't know. I am not the hugest fan of tacos, but huge butt here, huge butt,
huge butt,
very large. It was so good. The tacos were amazing.
And they make the corn tortillas or whatever from scratch. It was all very, very. The drinks they had
some raspberry tea.
Right, yeah,
sorta.
they It's called like Armando Palmero. Is kind of their take on the Arnold Palmer, which
it was like house made too, I
right,
think.
Yeah.
So
and they
good.
have like horchata, all that different stuff. So that was a very good place to go. I think this was later that day, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is, because in California, like, you wake up, it's 70 degrees, like you eat lunch at 70 degrees, dinner 70 degrees, you go to bed at 70 degrees. So like I think we lost a little bit track of time here, but we went to like I think the Santa Monica Pier in Venice Beach, and like it's exactly what you would imagine it to look like. Everyone there is, again, very attractive, very like in great shape. Everyone's like playing sports on the beach. People are skateboarding up and down, blasting their like Blink-182 music and everything. But I know when we finally got to the pier where all the carnival games and the tourist shops were and whatever, there was this man that stopped Evan.
I had an experience on the Santa Monica Pier.
Wait. Do you want to talk about this? Or is it too traumatizing for you? Maybe you should share your story.
I will power through it. The recollection of it will make me stronger for the future. I probably am better at saying no now. But so I'll paint a picture for you. We were on the Santa Monica Pier.
Just minding our own business.
Kind of looking around at the shops. And a guy approaches me and was like, hey, I've got the CD. You want a CD? It's in my music. I'd really love if you checked it out. And
it was free, right?
It was free. Yeah. As a tourist, you're like, oh, sure. This guy on the side of on the pier is handing me something. I'm sure I'll take it.
He gives it to you, and then he says what?
So I'm not the biggest tourist guy. I don't really go. I haven't really traveled outside the country too much. So I hear that this is common, outside of the country. He gives it to me, and then he's like, all right, so that'll be $10-$20. I'm like, hold up. What?
And it's funny too, because he didn't offer it to you. He put it in your hand.
He was like, here you go, man. Here's some of my music. I was like, oh, thank you. And he's like, all right, now please, $10 will be great. And so for me, I hear, okay, I'm gonna have to pay this guy either way. I don't want to be the guy that's like, get away from me.
Here's your CD back.
I should have done it in retrospect. Oh well, hindsight's 20/20. So I give I go over to the man. I'm like, man, I'm trying to get out of this in the best way possible. I'm like, man, I'm really sorry. I don't have any cash on me. I'm not going to be able to do this. He's like, I have Cash App. I have Venmo. I'm like, oh. Okay. So I pull up my Venmo. He's like, what's your Venmo? And he pulls up Cash App and was like, I'm like, no, I have Venmo, not Cash App. So we exchanged all that. And he hands it to me. It's a CD in like a paper kind of plastic wrapping.
Right.
And I don't know if he thought to himself that him putting his signature on multiple times would increase the value on it, because he put his signature once on the front of the packaging, once on the back of the packaging, and then one more time on the CD itself.
All the same exact signature.
All the same exact signatures. So, it's like 3x the value now. And I still have the CD. I think I may have thrown away the packaging, so I think it lost a little bit of value.
Lost some value.
We probably shouldn't say his name, but if you are watching, which I'm sure you are, thank you for that experience, and I am now better at saying no to people.
But, I mean, he was like, you guys agreed on $10, and you finally pulled up the screen. He was like, so you said 20, right?
Yeah, I was like, all right, man, I'll give you $10. And so he pulls up the app, and he's like, all right, I'll just $20. I'm like, whoa, $10. I'll do 10. So if you're out there, man, and the biggest kicker was the way he tried to reel us in was like, yeah, man, I'm super popular. You guys know Snoop Dogg?
You know Snoop Dogg?
I was like, whoa, this guy's actually legit. He knows Snoop Dogg. And so
we pulled up his Instagram, like saw the most recent photo he posted. Boom, 2 likes on it.
He's not verified.
9 hours ago. I don't think he actually went to hang out with Snoop Dogg.
I don't think he knows who Snoop Dogg is, unless he's like a friend or something, like with a similar name. I don't know. More power to you, buddy. I mean, hopefully you make it. So I actually did listen to the CD, and I will say it surpassed my expectations. Right. It was better than what I thought it was going to be.
Decent production quality.
Lyrics were hard hitting. If I had to Anthony Fantano it, I'd probably give it a solid 5 out of 10.
Okay.
So right. There you go.
Yeah. So that night we had gone back to Orange County and had this Korean barbecue place. And, again, I'm very picky about everything I eat. Like I'm a huge critic. Like I would have days where I just leave Gordon Ramsay on the computer in the background, and so like all of that's ingrained into me. But like this place was really good, and it had like, again, with the waits here, this had like a 3-hour wait to it.
That was probably the longest we had waited for a restaurant.
But again, like everyone there was like kids our age, just trying to cram into there. It was a very high pace, like fast, like moving restaurant, and it was so good. Everything was so tender. But the next day, like I needed to show Evan like what we call like Little Saigon in Santa Ana, and it's like where all the signs are literally in Vietnamese, like all the menus there are in Vietnamese, like no one speaks English in like a 5-mile radius or whatever. But I was like, if you've never had pho before, like I have to take you to the real one. Unfortunately, because neither of us could read the menu, he didn't order it, and I think they put like cilantro in it for him.
It was fine. I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. But I've never had like authentic pho before, and
next time he's got to get it without cilantro in it. But we had like real Vietnamese boba afterwards, and it was great. The next day we spent some time at Huntington Beach, where my dad's family used to have a beach house, which they don't have anymore. But it's like another part of like childhood, I guess. It was really nice to just take in like all these different sites, and the water is like so blue, and the beaches are so clean, and everything like that. Later that night, though, we had a restaurant, again, I saw on BuzzFeed Worth It, and it was called Pizzeria Mozza, and this might be the best pizza we've ever had again, right?
I went into it thinking, okay, it's pizza.
It's a $25 personal pizza.
It's a little upscale, okay. It's probably going to be pretty good. That first bite was something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't say Atlanta's known for pizza.
No.
There aren't too many like
Antico.
We have Antico's, which is probably my favorite pizza in
Right.
Atlanta. But there's just really nothing to go off of. So maybe it's just I have a very bland palate. But this pizza was the best pizza I've ever had.
It was definitely worth it. And the thing is that Evan didn't get like a normal pizza. He got like a pizza with like Spanish andouille sausage on it with like all these like little ripe cherry tomatoes. I was really boring. I like when I don't know what to get, it's kind of like chicken fingers. When I don't know what pizza to get, I always get meat lovers. And like at some point, like meat lovers is the same everywhere. Like you gotta like spice it with all these different vegetables or different meats you've never tried before, which Evan did. And like I told him like his pizza was like the best pizza I've ever had. Mine definitely wasn't, but
so good.
At the same time, it's not as easily said to just say this is the best pizza ever because we've never been to New York before.
Yeah, if once we go to New York, Chicago, places like that,
Italy, right?
Italy, pizza.
Right. So that was pretty great. But that pretty much concluded our time in Los Angeles, and I think this was coming back on a Monday. I think like getting back to the start of the week, and we had to drive back. So we went to San Diego, kind of just for the hell of it, to just see like the beaches and the caverns there, and it's a little bit of a different vibe again. And it's so funny, like I know Lincoln Park's from Los Angeles, I think, but the vibes of just the weather, I'm like, okay, I gotta play like their Minutes to Midnight album, and it was just so vibey driving there. And Evan was like, hey, that's the golf course that like all the famous like golfers play at, right?
Yeah, we drove past Torrey Pines, and true to its name, there are a bunch of trees in the way, so you can't really see it from the road. But it was cool to say, hey, I went near a professional golf course.
Right. The thing about San Diego too is, and how it's different from Los Angeles, is that it's definitely one of those like coast kind of towns, right? I think it's kind of like what you would associate like I don't know, like Boston or like something like that. Like
unfortunately I don't remember the name of the road that we took, but there was like an interstate that was like a few miles away from the ocean, but we decided to
highway
take,
or something.
Yeah, we decided to take the road that was like closest to the ocean. So pretty much the entire time we drove from LA to San Diego, we were driving next to the ocean. We were going through some really cool, really small towns, but a bunch of like oceanfront houses, and pulling up Zillow. That's a fun game if you ever are on a road trip and just want to like pull up Zillow and say, how much do you think that house is? Oh, nope, you're about $2 million off of what you thought.
Right. But, as we were leaving California, one, I was looking for a Shohei Ohtani jersey, which I couldn't find. But two, we were like, okay, we're finally leaving this place like we have like so much love and admiration for, which we went as tourists. We have no idea what it's like to live there. So.
Oh yeah, this entire podcast, you're probably thinking, no, that's not how you do that. No, you're wrong.
But you know, we were like, let's have In-N-Out one last time.
Yeah,
because we don't know what it's going to be like in any other state if we have the craving for it. But you know, we had it and it was exactly how we remembered it. It was great. But, you know, it was time to say goodbye. And then we finally, you know, after that, it was a little more downhill. Like, we had a couple more places that were definitely going to be, like, pretty poppin'. But, like, after that, you know, we had to drive through Tucson. And it's funny. We had this place that, again, like, these local restaurants, we didn't want to break our tradition. We had this restaurant neither of us had ever heard of, again, local to Arizona, called eegee's.
Didn't even plan it. It was just we got there and we're like, I've never heard of that before. Let's go.
And it's like, I didn't know if it was eegee's, like, possessive, like with the S on the end, but
I thought it was eggies at first.
But the reason why I say that is because eegee's, their slushies are called eegee's, but it's a sandwich restaurant, but their slushies are called eegee's. And like, I just remember we went up to the window, or no, we went inside, and the attendant, the cashier, was like, "Would you like an eegee with that?" And
Yeah.
we're like, "What's an eegee?"
Yeah, bless her heart. She was so nice. She was over it. It was pretty late at night,
was
like
pretty late.
9 at night, and
But she's like, I have to explain to these dumb tourists what an eegee is.
Yeah, she's like, "Do you want an eegee with that?" And I was like, "What is that?" And she was kind of like, "That's like the whole thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's the reason why it's called the restaurant. What's wrong with you, Evan?
And I don't even think I got one. I'm pretty sure I didn't get one.
Right, I got one, and it was pretty all right. But I mean, like, it was okay, but
Not better than Subway, I'd probably say.
yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed the sub.
Mhm.
The slushie itself was, you know, slushies to me are just kind of slushies. But the biggest high point I think after this was we kind of had this like crash course for Texas Day. Like, we knew we wanted to hit El Paso.
We did a lot this day.
Right. We wanted to hit El Paso. We wanted to hit San Antonio, all that stuff. We were driving up really right next to the border where you could just see like Mexico over, like this, like whatever city was right there. But
there was a point in time it was this weird rest stop where it was just like a bathroom, like a one stall bathroom for like men and women. And that was it. But it was in like the middle of the desert where we looked on the side. It was just like sand dunes.
Dunes.
Not even like cactus or any kind of like deserty growth. It was just sand dunes.
It literally looked like, you know, a scene straight out of Star Wars. Like, there was nothing, just straight up like sand dunes. But like, as we were getting into El Paso, you know, we wanted to have pretty much as close to authentic Tex-Mex food you can get. And we tried L&J, which I believe is the oldest Mexican restaurant in maybe Texas or maybe even America. But it was great. Like, again,
So
best
good.
enchiladas I've ever had, probably. Like, it's just very incomparable to anything, definitely anything you could get in Georgia. But you know, we had that there. We drove to San Antonio and just crashed there. I think that meal was so filling, though, we couldn't even eat anything for dinner. Like, we just called it off.
The drive from El Paso to San Antonio is a lot of hours.
Right.
But we didn't eat like a single thing.
Because we were just so full. But, you know, the next day when we woke up in San Antonio, like, we went and saw the Alamo. We saw, like, the Riverwalk. And it was really just nice. And, you know, it was a little quiet, actually. It was really early in the morning.
Early in the morning and very humid, I remember. Like,
it was
very
humid,
sticky.
but, you know, it was kind of, there was overcast. It wasn't very hot or anything. But it was just really nice to take that all in. And then I think on the way to Austin, we finally stopped at a Buc-ee's. We didn't want to stop at a Buc-ee's on the way to California. We stopped on the one back, and it was the largest one.
Yeah, it was in New Braunfels. I hope I'm saying that right. But that was our first time ever going to a Buc-ee's.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was definitely an experience.
It was cool.
I remember we probably spent like 45 minutes there just looking at all the different like souvenirs and like the convenience store items. I remember Evan tried to go get an item from the bakery.
Yeah, it's not anybody's fault. There's some flies flying around.
Some flies, so we didn't really get to try any of their pastries or anything. But
I'm sure they're great.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And then we finally made it to Austin, and Austin's kind of the place to be, I think.
That was my favorite city. I don't want to say favorite, but definitely my favorite city in Texas that we visited. It's just very clean, and it seems like the population is very young and kind of
really hip. Like, everyone knows what they're doing. It's definitely going to be the next cultural hub. But I saw the Stevie Ray Vaughan statue. We hung out a little bit near the Texas campus and everything. And then, we had the option and we had to do it again because we were like, okay, if we don't stop now, we're never going to have it again. So we had to get In-N-Out. And, this might be a very controversial thing to say, but I think that In-N-Out was probably the best one we had.
That was my favorite In-N-Out trip that we took.
It's probably like, we didn't want to stop in like Arizona on the way to California. We're like, we're going to have California In-N-Out first. But coming back and stopping in Austin In-N-Out, it's like they had something to prove.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I'm just now remembering this as we're talking about it. The entire trip to California, you saw it in Texas, you saw it in Arizona. You're like, Evan,
we got to stop now.
There's not going to be anything wrong with us eating it. And I was like, Kory, if I try for the first time, it has to be a California In-N-Out. And you're like, okay,
like,
all right.
Okay, I gotta have it like right now.
But we were able to wait until California, and then we came back.
But that Austin In-N-Out was so good, like really clean, like not messy. Like the bun was just perfect. Again, everything was perfect. Neapolitan shake was perfect, and again we had boba. It's funny because I remember at this boba place, the guy there, like, as soon as he paid, like he flipped over the screen for you to sign off on it, but he also like stood over to make sure you tipped him.
So it's one of my like Peter Griffin, what grinds my gears is the new tipping mechanism that restaurants have started to implement, and it's where they allow you, they flip the screen over to you, and you get to choose what you want to tip the person serving you. And
right.
I have no issue with tipping people, right? If you do a good service, I have no problem tipping you. Mm-hmm. But the whole fact with the boba thing is when he flipped it over, there was like the plexiglass kind of wall, so you couldn't really do it yourself. So he was looking at the screen, is like, which one? Which
one do you want?
How much do you want to give me? What amount of money do you want? And he was like looking at the 25%. You're like, nope, not that one. He's like, not the 15%. But they're just doing their job.
I'm pretty sure I'm sorry. I didn't tip him because he was waiting for me to just like choke and
I think I actually like reached my finger under the plexiglass and like hit. I don't know what I hit. 10%, maybe $1. I don't remember. But yeah, it's just kind of a funny situation there.
That was a pretty funny situation. After Austin, we went to Houston. And I don't know much about Houston, but I know you wanted to go see the Space Center.
Yeah. Again, it's a really huge city. I'm sure there's plenty to do. By that point in the trip, we didn't really have any destinations that we wanted to go to. We were kind of like, it was the end of the leg of the trip, and so we were like, kind of wanted to get home. So we stopped at the Space Center, and it was already closed. So we didn't get time to like go through it or anything. So we took some pictures on the outside. And that was pretty much it. Most of our time in Houston was spent in traffic, I think. Yeah. Like
we could have done stuff, but we probably sat like a good 2 or 3 hours just not doing anything. And it was so frustrating, which is funny because like Atlanta traffic, I'm still convinced it's probably the worst traffic I've ever been. It's pretty
bad, yeah.
But like, like I've been warned about LA traffic, and at least while we were there, LA traffic wasn't that bad.
We were there during I think the weekend.
Yeah, but Houston was probably the worst traffic we had on that trip.
It was bad.
And that was in the city, too. And I just remember being in the car, and I was so frustrated. And I'm sure Evan was the same way. I'm like, I don't even want to stop here. Let's just pass through it. So we drove through Houston, stopped at the Space Center. And because we were already out of the city, we couldn't even really eat any of the restaurants there. So we had to stop. At a Dickey's, which I love Dickey's, like when it's done right. But
no issues with Dickey's. Dickey's is great.
Yeah, but like this Dickey's barbecue was located inside of a gas station. And it's funny because the person who was running the gas station and the only person on duty at the time was the same attendant at the Dickey stand. So once he was finished checking someone out at the gas station cash register, he would walk over to Dickey's and take our order and then like stick our food in the microwave. And it was not great.
It was not the best, but better than I was expecting.
Yeah, shout out to that guy for trying his best.
Yeah, it was one guy working like
2 jobs at the same time.
A bunch of stuff. He was, ran from the counter of the gas station back to the counter of the Dickey's, and he was like preparing our food. And
then walked back to check someone out at the gas station. Came back to service, walked back to the gas station. So, shout out to that guy.
More power to him, man. Yeah.
But it just, at some point, it's just too much to do it all by yourself. But Like the last thing we could look forward to after striking out on Dickey's is that we were finally going to Louisiana, and we were going to see New Orleans. And we've had a few friends who had told us like where to go or where to stop or whatever. But like I remember, I'm not sure what the place was called, but there was a cafe where they said to go get beignets, but like the line was like 3 miles long or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the signature place that you go to have beignets.
Right.
And I felt really bad because I'm sure they were really good. And
that being said, though, we still went to we went to Cafe Beignet.
Yeah, we went to a cafe that served beignets called Cafe Beignet.
It was still, really good, still really unique, something we'd never had before. And then, of course, we had to just kind of come up with the decision of, we have all these great restaurants at our disposal. Where are we having lunch at? And we stopped at this 21 and up restaurant called Coop's Place, and it was in a very shady corner. And like they had like a security guard there to check your ID, and you go in and like there's no windows inside the restaurant. It's all like very dimly lit. But man, we were going there and we're like, okay, we're just gonna try like a cup of gumbo, cup of jambalaya. They're like $8 each. But then once we looked over the menu again, for the same price, you can order a sample platter for both of us, like separately, for the same price of what a cup of gumbo and a cup of jambalaya would cost. But it came with gumbo, fried chicken, jambalaya, beans, and like okra. And it was, man, like once you've had like real food from Louisiana that tastes like that, like I've tried to make jambalaya and gumbo on my own, and I don't think I could ever attempt to do it anymore.
I felt really bad going there because you have to remember, we're about 2 weeks in on eating tons and tons of, really dense fast food, a bunch of gourmet, like kind of really good food. And by this time, this was another thing that I was looking forward to, because I think there was a point in time when we were like in California kind of planning on where we were going to go. And we were like, if we divert it a little bit, we can stop in New Orleans and get some like real, like New Orleans food. And I was looking forward to it for that entire trip back, but I was so full on that day, our very last day, and I couldn't finish. It was so good. Like the jambalaya, the gumbo was so good, but just all of that food piled on top of each other, I just like, I can't finish it.
Right. So, we left there with our bellies full, but still we left, and we weren't really sure if we wanted to stop anywhere on the way home, but we were passing back through like Mississippi, I think, and then Alabama, and then we saw on Alabama, I was like, hey, you want to go get a shake from Whataburger or whatever? And like what we didn't know in Alabama is that this Whataburger had just opened, and like we were just talking earlier about horror stories about Whataburger. This might have been the worst Whataburger we've ever been to.
It was very busy. They had like I don't even know what you want to call them, the guys wearing the vest where they like kind of direct traffic, but in the parking lot.
Right.
Like it was super busy, but it had just opened, and so you kind of think, okay, maybe the employees, managers don't really have a feel for how it's going to work yet. It took us a long time to get our food.
Right. The thing about new restaurants is that if it's a well-established chain, like it's going to be good in like a year. But like I'm pretty sure this was like only a few days after it had just opened. And like you have all like the people working their first job, or it's a temporary job for them. And then like the manager is probably let go, and new management comes in and whips that place into shape. Like we got like the full kind of bad experience, and not that it made any difference because Whataburger still tasted like Whataburger.
But I still think
no,
we had 2 bad experiences, and the third time will be the best experience ever.
I can't fight with this man anymore. He just doesn't get it.
I think it'll be good. I really do.
But finally we got home that night. I dropped Evan off and I drove home, and I was just so tired. I was so excited to, be by myself again. But then like, at the same time I felt lonely that I didn't have someone always right next to me.
When you're with somebody, and this sounds a little corny, when you're with somebody for that long with like the same person, not in a platonic way, like you're just hanging out with somebody and then you're just not there anymore. It's like,
it's so weird. It's such an empty feeling.
What do I do with myself?
Right.
But I have to go back to eating McDonald's and alone.
Right. And the thing about eating McDonald's or anything else again, I just remember I came home and like, I'm pretty sure like I went to Chick-fil-A or something normal that I would have eaten any other day. And I'm like, this tastes so horrible, because we had just been so spoiled like the entire trip. And you know, that's not to say we didn't have our fair share of like Guisados, for example, was only like $2 a taco or whatever, but like the pizza was like $25 a personal pizza. It's just like we were still so spoiled with everything we ate that when we came back, like everything I ate tasted absolutely horrible for like the next month, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a great trip. I'm glad we did it. I think next time if we do go out to California, we'll probably fly, just for the to be there.
Right, just to be there.
Nothing against the states that we went through. Everything was great. It's more about the trip than the destination, for sure.
Right. But once you've done it,
once you've done it, you don't need to drive 4,000 miles in a car that has 300,000 miles in it.
Right.
So that was pretty much our trip.
Yeah, and I'm glad that we had this first episode to talk about it, and finally, because I don't think we ever told anybody really about it. We just kind of told them we went to California, and that's it.
Yeah, it's kind of good to kind of explain, because it helps us remember. Like when we were writing up the talking points and stuff, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. So it's good to kind of recollect on that sort of stuff.
Right. So thank you for joining us on this episode, the very first episode of the Quacking Pancakes Podcast. New episodes will be released every Wednesday, and we hope to see you again soon.
See you guys.
See ya.